Now this channel isn't all about news and rumours. No, we've got the Behind the Titantron series, and now we're releasing a new feature that looks at some of wrestling's most forgotten and interesting events and facts. Join us now as WrestleLamia presents Today I Learned Episode 1, the Forgotten WWF Wrestling Riots of 1997. Be sure to subscribe for more. Sports fans can be a rowdy bunch, and wrestling fans are no exception, with several well-documented riots having entered into the sport of King's history. One of the best known is the infamous Madison Square Garden riot of 19th November 1957, which nearly led to wrestling being banned at the Garden, and it led to the lifetime ban of Dick the Bruiser from New York State. While fans may think riots were limited to the days of kayfabe when angry fans sought to get revenge on heels who attacked babyfaces, things have deteriorated into bedlam long after kayfabe died. In 1997, the WWF experienced not one, but two fan riots, largely due to the WWF exploiting the fans. A 1997 Pro Wrestling Torch article set the stage for the two tumultuous nights of fandemonium. Fan riots broke out 2 nights in a row at WWF house shows over the weekend. December 14th in Memphis, Tennessee, and December 15th in Little Rock, Arkansas, debris throwing by fans got so bad that the main event each night was cancelled. Each night, when it was announced to the crowd that the card was over and the main event was cancelled, fans became even more unruly. In Little Rock, the chaos didn't quell until over 30 minutes later. On 14th December 1997 at Memphis, Tennessee's Pyramid Arena, fans saw what was described as a tense situation, in hindsight more a near riot than an actual riot. According to the Wrestling Observer, the scheduled main event of Jerry Lawler and Jeff Jarrett vs Michaels and Helmsley never took place. Before a crowd of 5,078 fans at the Pyramid, Michaels came out for his once-per-week scheduled arena match and was met with so much garbage thrown his way that he simply refused to wrestle, and the show ended without the match ever taking place. As it was described to us, the show itself was poor, and the crowd, many of whom had been drinking heavily, were getting unruly even before the main event. Michaels was hit with a few cokes, and a large wad of tobacco juice nailed Helmsley in the face, at which point Michaels grabbed the house mic and said, "Well, that just cost you your main event," and walked out of the ring with Helmsley and Chyna. As bad as that was, it paled to what happened the next night in Little Rock, when the fans vented their frustration over a show that was billed at a Raw taping and a mediocre card of wrestling. The Observer reported the events leading up to the riot. According to several reports, the undercard for the show at Barton Coliseum was terrible, and even the densest marks were getting restless about the poor quality of the matches, in particular a terrible match with Kane vs Chains, and an Undertaker vs Rocky Maivia casket match that only lasted 2 minutes due to the Undertaker being injured and having high blood pressure. In addition, fans were upset because the card that was taking place was completely different than the lineup that was advertised, with no explanations given. The scheduled main event was to be Shamrock with Danny Hodge against Helmsley, with Michaels in his corner, which drew 6,449 fans. Michaels and Helmsley came to the ring and began riling up the crowd and was already mad about the poor undercard. Naturally, they became target practice again, and when a piece of paper hit Michaels, he told the crowd that they had just lost their main event and walked out with Helmsley and Chyna. The event is still talked about today by fans who attended the disaster. One fan remembers, "My family and I kept noticing the crowd throwing trash and in the middle of the show, and they were even warned to stop doing so. DX came out for the main event and the trash escalated. HBK got on the mic and said, 'For all of you throwing all the shit inside the ring, you just lost your main event,' and they quickly exited the ring. That's where everything went nuts. Chairs were being thrown, bottles and garbage. Smoke began rising from the floor down below. We were in the higher seating. Years later I would learn it was fires being started. After it all calmed down, we went down to ringside and asked one security guard if we could get pics in front of the ring. He granted it. It was the most memorable event I've ever gone to, with it being my first and a riot breaking out." In a 2016 article, another fan recalled the events in Little Rock. The main event for the evening was supposed to be Stone Cold Steve Austin and Dude Love vs Hunter Hearst Helmsley and Shawn Michaels. During the entrances, Michaels was hit in the head by some sort of glass object. HBK immediately grabbed the mic and told the crowd these exact words, "Due to your immature bullshit, the show is over." That's when the upset crowd turned into a full-scale riot. fans threw any and everything they could get their hands on into the ring or at anyone who even looked as if they worked for the WWF or Barton Coliseum. At one point, one of the security guards was jumped by fans. They then took his shirt off his back and set it on fire. By the time things escalated this badly, there was probably still 3,500 or so fans remaining inside the building, most of whom were rioting, while a few of us were just staying out of the line of fire, hoping things would die down. In the midst of all this chaos, there were all of maybe 15 or 20 security personnel working to combat thousands of drunk, angry fans. Eventually, city and state police were called to defuse the situation. Once the police arrived, they deployed tear gas canisters, which seemed to do the trick pretty quickly. When it was all said and done, there were hundreds of thousands of dollars in damages, dozens of fans sent to the hospital, and multiple people arrested. There was talk of wrestling being banned, but things quieted down. At the time, some observers speculated that wrestling's change in tone was leading to rowdier fans attending wrestling events, and as usually the case, excessive alcohol consumption was factored in. WCW experienced problems itself with unruly fans, with the 15th December 1997 Nitro having several instances of fans trying to hit the ring and 3 making it in before getting beat down. But there you have it guys, the premiere episode of Today I Learned in Wrestling, the Forgotten Wrestling Riots of 1997. Did you attend these shows? Do you think it could happen again? Are there any subjects you'd like us to look at? Be sure to leave your comments down below, subscribe if you haven't already, follow us on Instagram and Twitter, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.